Before your bones were formed, before your heartbeat echoed on earth, your name was already written in heaven's registry, but so was the injustice they would try to bury you with. There's a case file in heaven. It's not written in ink, but in fire, sealed before you ever breathed, recorded before you ever cried, and signed by the blood of the Lamb himself. And in that eternal document is a betrayal, a setup, a spiritual ambush. Not because you did something wrong, but because you were chosen to carry something the darkness could not control. Before you ever failed, before you ever wept, before you ever asked, "Why was I born this way?" The courtroom of heaven had already convened and said, "This one will carry my fire." And hell responded, not with fire, but with counterfeit assignments, with rejection, with delay, with abandonment, with accusations that didn't even belong to you. You see, the enemy didn't wait for you to become successful to hate you. He hated your entrance because your birth wasn't just biological. It was prophetic. The very date, the very month, the very second you entered this world, it wasn't coincidence. It was evidence. Evidence that God still interrupts history with human vessels. Evidence that heaven still sends answers disguised as babies. And you? You were born into the middle of a war. Not a natural war. A war of assignments. Heaven knew, and hell reacted. The moment your spirit crossed through time and wrapped itself in flesh, the atmosphere changed. Spiritual sensors lit up. Angelic watchers took post. And the enemy's spies moved into position. Because someone was born who had eternity written in their blood. They didn't attack you because of what you did. They attacked you because of what you carried. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Jeremiah 1:5. That's not poetry. That's a witness statement from the throne. God didn't guess about your existence. He didn't roll dice to decide what month you'd be born. He scheduled you, and in doing so, placed divine timing inside your very identity. But here's the prophetic shock most people never realize. The betrayal didn't start on earth. It started in the spirit. What you felt in the classroom, what you endured in the home, what you hid behind your silence, all of it began with a conversation in the heavens that hell overheard. The case file of the chosen. In the book of Revelation, it says, "And the books were opened." Revelation 20:12. There are books in heaven, and your name is in one, not just for salvation, but for assignment. And there are pages in that book that read like this: "This one will confront the darkness of their bloodline. This one will break the silence where abuse once lived. This one will carry prophetic fire into a family of dry religion. This one will be a healer where the world only offered wounds. This one will rise up from rejection with revival in their voice." But let me say something sobering. The moment heaven writes your assignment, hell writes your opposition. And if you don't know your identity, you'll think the battle is personal. You'll think your trauma means you were overlooked. You'll think your birthday was just a number. You'll think your voice doesn't matter. But I came to tell you, the fact that you're under attack is proof that you are carrying prophecy, betrayed before the blessing. Let's talk real. Some of you were abandoned before you were embraced. Some of you were silenced before you were ever heard. Some of you were born into places that never had the language to name what God put in you. Why? Because they weren't meant to define you. They were meant to be the contrast to what you would become. You were not born in the wrong month. You were born in the right moment. A prophetic disruption to a timeline of generational cycles. God sent you as a seed, and hell saw you as a threat. That's why they mocked you. That's why you never fit in. That's why they chose others over you, because heaven had hidden you. Some betrayals are allowed so that your destiny can't be detected too soon. You weren't overlooked. You were hidden for protection. The birth month is a blueprint. There's a reason you were born in that month. There's a reason you've always felt different during certain seasons. You're not crazy, you're coded. God didn't just speak your name, He whispered it into the calendar of heaven. January, leadership through darkness. February, healing through peace. March, endurance in storms. April, resurrection power. May, unshakable faith. June, building foundations. July, holy curiosity. August, longing for the sacred. September, spiritual order. October, emotional renewal. November, prophetic discernment. December, light-bearing promise. Each month is more than a time. It's a spiritual mantle. And yours is not random. You were set. You were positioned. You were commissioned. The calendar didn't just track your time. It announced your arrival to angels and demons alike. The setup was real, but so was the sovereignty. Let me tell you something that might shake you. What the enemy used to try to break you was the very thing God will use to build your platform. That silence, that was your training ground for discernment. That rejection, that was your preparation for audience with kings. That season where nobody saw you, that was the hidden forge where heaven lit the fire inside of you. You didn't survive just to breathe. You survived because your voice is about to break demonic agreements. This is not motivational. This is courtroom prophecy. Heaven is waiting for a response. So here's the charge today. You are not a mistake. You are not late. You are not random. You were born on purpose, with purpose, for such a time as this. And now heaven waits for your response. Will you embrace what they rejected? Will you step into what they tried to shut down? Will you believe not just in your value, but in the timing of your birth? Because your date of birth was not a date on earth. It was a verdict in heaven. And the only reason you're still standing is because your scroll has not finished unfolding. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Psalm 139, verse 16. This is just the beginning. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1:5. He chose us in Him before the foundation of the world. Ephesians 1:4. You are not your own. You were bought at a price. 1 Corinthians 6:19-20. Before your bones knew gravity, your spirit knew glory. Before your mother's body felt the shift of your presence, heaven had already commissioned your assignment. You were not just born, you were sent. When God said to Jeremiah, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you," He wasn't just referring to a prophet. He was laying down a template, a divine pattern for every child heaven sends into time. That includes you. You were not formed first and then assigned. You were assigned first, and then heaven wove your body around that assignment. Heaven's blueprints came before biology. Let this sink in. You are not the result of an earthly decision. You are the manifestation of a heavenly decree. The world saw a pregnancy. Heaven saw a prophecy in progress. Your soul was spoken before it was shaped. There was a heavenly drafting table, and on it, your purpose was inked in eternal fire, not as a possibility, but as a certainty. You didn't arrive on earth to discover yourself. You arrived with a hidden scroll waiting to be revealed in layers. That's why you've always felt there was more. That's why average never satisfied you. That's why fitting in always felt like betraying something sacred inside you. Because you're not just human, you're a spirit on assignment. Heaven knows your real name. There is a name you were given by your parents, but there is also a name heaven whispered before they ever laid eyes on you. Gideon was called mighty warrior while hiding. Peter was called the rock while he was still unstable. Abraham was called father of nations while he was childless. And you've always had a name in the spirit, a name hell fears, a name wrapped in anointing. And they may have called you too much, too emotional, too sensitive, too quiet, too bold, too slow, too intense. But God never agreed. God called you set apart. He called you my vessel. He called you chosen. The scroll assigned to your soul. In the realm of heaven, there is a scroll with your spiritual DNA written on it. Not just what you do, but who you'd be in the fire. Before the womb ever wrapped itself around you, the Holy Spirit wrapped a scroll of purpose around your destiny. And in it were things like, what burdens would break your heart? What injustice would provoke your calling? What pain you'd overcome that would later become someone else's deliverance? What fire would refine you? What light would emerge from the places that nearly killed you? Your scroll wasn't sterile. It included wounds that would become weapons. It included storms that would forge your discernment. It included seasons of obscurity that would birth intimacy with God. You were not sent for survival. God did not send you to earth just to pay bills, take selfies, and die quietly. You were sent to wreck darkness. That's why you never fully fit the culture. That's why sin tasted bitter in your mouth, even when others celebrated it. That's why some doors closed before you could self-destruct, and you didn't understand why. But heaven was guarding the scroll. He didn't send you to be popular. He sent you to be powerful in the spirit. Heaven didn't send you to impress demons. Heaven sent you to dismantle their systems. Even your month of birth, it was part of the spiritual GPS for your impact. That calendar wasn't a coincidence. It was a launch date. Your pain wasn't the start. Your calling was, let's be clear. You weren't born into brokenness. You were born through it, but for something higher. Your identity didn't begin with abuse. It didn't begin with what they called you. It didn't begin with trauma. Your story didn't start when they left. Your story didn't start when the enemy tried to write a counterfeit script. Your story started when God said, "This one will carry my presence where religion has failed. This one will walk through rejection and still release healing. This one will never bow to Babylon. There is a fire inside you that the world didn't give you, and that fire will outlast every storm trying to silence it." Why you always felt so different. Some of you have asked God your whole life, why do I feel like I don't belong? Why do I feel so much? Why does nobody understand me? Why am I so burdened when I see injustice? Why can't I just be normal? Because you weren't created for normal. You were created for prophetic disruption. Your soul doesn't move like others because you weren't born to blend. You were born to pierce the veil. That sensitivity, it's a divine sensor from the throne room. That weight you feel in rooms, it's spiritual radar. That ache for more, it's your scroll vibrating inside your bones. And heaven is waiting for you to finally say, I accept the assignment. You were appointed, not just born. You weren't voted in. You weren't randomly selected. You were appointed, heaven ordained. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you. John 15:16. Let them debate your worth. Let them question your qualifications. Let them mock your silence, your fire, your tears, your conviction. They didn't choose you. He did. And heaven has never taken a vote on what it already decreed. Final decree for part 2. Your spiritual origin is not earthly. You are not a product of your past. You are a product of heaven's foreknowledge. Before your parents knew each other, before the enemy wrote his lies, before the pain tried to name you, God knew, God called, God marked. And if you're hearing this right now, it's not for inspiration. It's a prophetic summons. The scroll is being reopened. Because your life hasn't been random. It's been an unfolding of a scroll that's just now hitting its next chapter. He chose us in him before the foundation of the world. Ephesians 1:4. Now you understand why you've always felt like heaven had something more to say about you. It does. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. Ephesians 6:12. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. John 10:10. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Isaiah 54:17. If you only knew the lengths the enemy went to in order to stop you, you'd stop questioning your worth and start walking in your warfare. Some of you thought the attack was personal. You thought it was about your looks, your family, your finances, your reputation. But it was never about those things. It was about your scroll. The enemy doesn't waste energy. He's strategic. And when heaven issued your assignment, hell issued a countercommand. In the spirit realm, this is what happens. A chosen one is released into time. Immediately a council of darkness convenes, not in chaos, but in order, not in confusion, but in coordinated conspiracy. They gather like shadows over your destiny, mapping not your failure, but your disarming. Because if they can disarm you spiritually, if they can distort how you see yourself, if they can confuse your assignment, they don't have to kill you. They can just neutralize you. Welcome to the spiritual espionage. Imagine a war room in hell, scrolls unfurled, your name on the table, your birth month circled, your tendencies analyzed, your bloodline studied, your weaknesses predicted, your future feared. This is not superstition. This is spiritual espionage. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, Ephesians 6:12. What attacked your mind was not just depression. It was a spirit of discouragement sent to shut down your prophetic frequency. What attacked your body wasn't just illness. It was a strategic distraction to wear you out before you stepped into fire. What attacked your identity was not just insecurity. It was a dark spirit of distortion assigned to make you reject your mantle. Their goal was never death. It was delay. Hell's first goal is never to kill you. It's to delay your discovery of who you really are. Because if you live unaware, you live unarmed. And if you live unarmed, you never access what you were born to unlock. So the council of darkness doesn't need to murder you. They just need to keep you bitter, keep you busy with distractions, keep you addicted to people-pleasing, keep you doubting the season you were born for, keep you chasing validation from broken places. They whisper in the background, make them question their birth, make them reject their emotions, send people to call them too much, attach them to counterfeits so they miss their calling. Let them be spiritual but not surrendered. Let them be gifted but never purified. The battle for your mind was personal. From childhood, the enemy sent messages through people. He couldn't read your scroll, but he could sense your atmosphere. He knew heaven had marked you, so he sent trauma with your name on it. That molestation, that abandonment, that betrayal, that teacher who crushed your confidence, that parent who spoke curses over you, they weren't coincidences. They were assignments. And let me say this with fire in my spirit. What was formed against you was not proof of your weakness. It was confirmation of your weaponry. The language of the council. Accusation. Every demonic council speaks in the same tongue. Accusation. It's the native language of hell. Revelation 12:10 calls Satan the accuser of the brethren, not the assassin, not the tormentor, the accuser. Why? Because if he can accuse you long enough, you'll start doing it for him. You'll disqualify yourself. You'll talk yourself out of your calling. You'll put down your mantle before you even pick it up. You'll compare your scroll to someone else's timeline. You'll let trauma decide your pace. Accusation doesn't just come through words. It comes through atmospheres, that unspoken shame, that subtle rejection in the room, that look people gave you when you spoke in fire, that feeling that you're too intense or too spiritual. Hell has perfected this language. But here's what heaven is declaring. You don't owe hell your silence. You owe God your surrender. The Dark Council feared your discovery. They knew if you ever figured out what was inside you, it would be over. That you were born to break generational silence, that you were designed to dismantle religious performance, that you carry apostolic courage in a body still healing, that you'd prophesy to nations from a place of personal survival, that you'd break soul ties and ignite revivals. So they tried to assassinate your identity through comparison, false relationships, disappointments that made you doubt God's goodness, religious environments that told you to tone it down, internal voices that said, you're too broken to be used. But God let them try. Why? Because he knew they couldn't kill what he already called. The weapons formed, but didn't prosper. Let's be real. Weapons were formed. They cut. They wounded. They bled you out emotionally. But they didn't win. You're still here. That's the evidence. You may be limping, but you're limping with revelation. You may be trembling, but you're trembling with fire in your veins. You may be scarred, but your scars are proof you didn't die in the wilderness. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Isaiah 54:17. He didn't say the weapons wouldn't form. He said they would not prosper because the scroll outlasts the sabotage. Your resistance is your revelation. Here's the key. Every time you resisted the enemy, even if it was messy, you were prophesying to hell that heaven still had a hold on you. When you cried but kept praying, you resisted. When you didn't understand but stayed faithful, you resisted. When you fell but got back up again, you resisted. When you forgave what tried to destroy you, you reversed a curse. The council of darkness couldn't stop you. So now they fear you, knowing what they know, that you were born with a God-ordained fire they couldn't extinguish. This is not just a battle. It's a court case. And right now in the spirit, heaven is issuing a declaration over you. This one will rise from the accusations. This one will awaken. This one will step into their month-marked anointing, and hell will have to refund every delay. The darkness thought your silence was surrender, but it was God reloading you. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come that they may have life, and life more abundantly. John 10:10. You are not the sum of what attacked you. You are the revelation of what hell couldn't destroy. Now the courtroom shifts. Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Job 13:15. How long, Lord? Will you forget me forever? Psalm 13:1. He was silent and opened not his mouth. Isaiah 53:7. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey where heaven falls silent, and the silence feels louder than the pain. This is the place no one preaches about, the place where the fire doesn't fall, the oil doesn't flow, the doors don't open, and God doesn't speak. This is the wilderness where the chosen are not just tested, they are broken, not for punishment, but for preparation. Because before God trusts you with visibility, he hides you in invisibility. When heaven is silent, it's still sovereign. Silence is not absence, it's strategy. When God is quiet, he's not careless. He's careful. He's not neglecting you. He's guarding the weight of what he placed inside you. The silence of heaven is where prophets are shaped. It's where David's learned to sing alone, where Josephs are buried in forgotten prisons, where Esther's fast in hidden chambers, where Job sits in ashes with nothing but raw faith left in his lungs. And maybe that's where you are. Welcome to the night season. You prayed, you fasted, you obeyed, and yet nothing. No breakthrough, no open door, no affirmation, just quiet. The silence hurts more than the warfare, because at least when you're attacked, you can point to a devil. But in the silence where the only one left to question is God. And like David, you ask, how long, Lord? Will you forget me forever? Psalm 13:1. But listen closely. God didn't leave. He just closed the curtain for a divine reason. Because the deeper your call, the quieter your training must be. The hidden curriculum of silence. Silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means God has enrolled you in a class that only the deeply chosen survive. In the silence, God teaches you to hear beyond volume, to see without light, to trust without answers, to obey without applause, to walk by faith when every step feels blindfolded. You're not being ignored, you're being initiated. The ones with the loudest future often go through the quietest valleys. Divine delay is divine design. God will often go silent on the ones he's about to use the loudest. Why? Because if you learned to move based on applause, you'd never survive the wilderness. If you lived on affirmation, you'd fold in the fire. If you needed permission from people, you'd abort the assignment. So he shuts down your emotional cravings. He silences the crowd. He even silences your own understanding so that only faith remains. Silence is not a punishment. It's surgical. It removes the parasites of needing to be seen, heard, praised, and promoted. Silence is the courtroom where trust is put on trial. Ask Job. When heaven went quiet, Satan thought he could win. But God was not worried, because the silence was a test of trust. Ask David, anointed in secret, sent back to fields, mocked by brothers, chased by Saul, writing psalms that sounded more like panic attacks. But he didn't stop singing, even when God didn't sing back. That's when you know someone is chosen. Not when they shout in the fire, but when they whisper to heaven when heaven won't speak. What is built in silence can't be shaken by applause. Let me tell you something prophetic. The throne you will sit on is shaped in the season nobody saw. The fire you carry now was forged in your quiet breakdowns. The wisdom you have now came from nights no one knew you were still standing. The authority you walk in now came from a trial with no witnesses. And heaven? It took notes. You thought God was ignoring you, but he was writing your case file in gold ink. This is where prophets learn to walk not by sight, not by feeling, not by title, but by one thing only: conviction. This is when your bones become flint, your breath becomes incense, your tears become oil. This is when heaven trusts you enough not to explain itself. Because the mark of the mature isn't power, it's obedience when you're walking blind. Even Jesus was met with silence. Let me remind you, Jesus himself, the Son of God, cried out in the final hour, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Matthew 27:46. Heaven didn't answer, because even the perfect lamb had to walk through the silence. Why? Because silence is the last test before resurrection. You're not forgotten. You're becoming. You are not in the dark. You are in formation. The silence is not forever, but it is sacred. And if you survive this place, you'll speak with fire that didn't come from textbooks. You'll walk in authority that wasn't licensed by men. You'll carry discernment that can't be taught because you earned it in the lonely trenches of silence. The silence isn't a sign that God is gone. It's the proof he's closer than ever. Just not talking yet, because he's watching to see if you'll trust the scroll even when it's closed. Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Job 13:15. Welcome to the school of the hidden. The silence is sacred, and it's almost over. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man sows, that shall he also reap. Galatians 6:7. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Psalm 23:5. Vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. Romans 12:19. There is a moment in the story of the chosen when silence breaks, not with a whisper, but with a verdict. Because God may be patient, but he is never passive. The scroll is still open. The courtroom of heaven is not closed, and justice is not delayed. It is timed. You may have cried in the dark. You may have walked away from what felt like betrayal without vengeance. You may have let them lie, mock, steal, or sabotage you, but you did not miss your reward. You preserved your verdict, because now the law of return has been activated. God is not mocked. Heaven keeps receipts. You were not crazy. You were not weak for letting it go. You were not stupid for choosing obedience. You were storing evidence. Every rejection you forgave, every door that slammed in your face, every smile that hit a dagger, every conversation where you bit your tongue, every moment you chose faith instead of vengeance, it was recorded, documented, sealed, because God does not forget what is sown by them or by you. The field is speaking. Now Galatians 6:7 says, "Whatsoever a man sows, that shall he also reap." What they did in secret, it's echoing in eternity. What you endured in silence, it's testifying now in heaven's court. Because heaven's justice doesn't move by emotion, it moves by divine sowing. And the field never lies. The field remembers every seed, every harsh word, every hidden motive, every moment they smiled in your face, but cursed your calling behind closed doors. And now, heaven says, it is time for the return. The mirror is turning. The law of return does not always strike as lightning. Sometimes it moves like a mirror, slowly turning and reflecting. What they did to you, now they experience it. The manipulation, now they feel the isolation. The sabotage, now they taste the same betrayal. The dishonor, now their own words are dishonoring them. This isn't revenge, it's reflection. Because when God steps in, He doesn't just restore you, He makes the invisible justice visible. You won't have to prove anything. You won't have to explain yourself. You'll just stand still, and the mirror will show the truth. The axe has been laid to the root. Let me speak this prophetically. The season of tolerating delay has ended. The axe has been laid to the root. The system that tried to choke your voice is now being disassembled by heaven. You obeyed when it cost you your comfort. You stood when no one applauded. You endured what others mocked. And God is saying, now I will answer. And my answer will not be whispered. It will be witnessed. A holy reversal. What is a holy reversal? It's when shame turns into honor. Delay turns into acceleration. What was stolen is returned with interest. The wilderness becomes a platform. What they meant for evil is used for global deliverance. Joseph stood before his brothers, not as a slave, not as a victim, but as a ruler. And what did he say? You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. Genesis 50:20. That wasn't just poetic. That was legal language. Joseph wasn't bitter. He was vindicated. Heaven reversed the record. God prepares tables, not for eating, but for witnessing. Psalm 23 verse 5. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Why does God invite enemies to the table? Not so they can eat, but so they can watch. They watch you walk in the mantle they denied. They watch you wear the crown they tried to crush. They watch you become the voice they tried to silence. And heaven makes it clear. This is what happens when a chosen one survives the wilderness without vengeance. The table is not a reward. It's a public record of heaven's verdict. Heaven is exploding with justice. Some of you are about to see emails exposed, hidden texts leaked, sabotagers revealed, lies reversed, delays, broken platforms restored, opportunities unlocked, not because you fought for it, but because you refused to fight dirty. You let God be judge. And now the gavel is falling, and still you are called to mercy. Even in this, God reminds the chosen, do not repay evil with evil. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who persecute you. Because your authority increases when your character remains clean. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to post receipts. You don't need to explain your side. Your fruit speaks louder than their rumors. Your favor rebukes their lies. Your restoration will outshine their attempts to ruin you. Doors are opening that no man can shut. Heaven's justice is not just payback, it's positioning. This is the season where closed doors burst open, new voices call your name. Former no's become, "We've been looking for you." The job you lost becomes the business you own. The seat they took from you becomes the platform God builds under you. This is the overflow after the obedience. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. Galatians 6:7. The law has been activated, and heaven has ruled in your favor. I watched till thrones were put in place, and the Ancient of Days was seated. Daniel 7:9. And the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. Revelation 20:12. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord. Isaiah 54:17. There is a courtroom more powerful than any throne room on earth, and it does not run on opinion. It runs on eternal truth. In that courtroom, you have been tried, and in that courtroom, you have already been found chosen. Let the scroll be brought forth. Let the angels stand as witnesses. Let the books be opened, and let every demonic accusation be silenced by the fire of God's verdict. Because this is not the moment where you prove your worth. This is the moment where heaven proves it has never forgotten your name. The courtroom of heaven is not a metaphor. It's a realm. It is real. Not made of brick, not built with hands, but woven into the fabric of eternity. It is where destinies are decreed, where mantles are assigned, where accusations are answered, where promises are enforced, and where the scroll of your life is read aloud in the presence of angels, witnesses, and even adversaries. And right now, I tell you prophetically, your scroll is being unsealed. What is a scroll in heaven? It is not poetry, it is evidence. It contains the truth of who you are, the record of your obedience, the intentions of God before you were born, the intercession made over you by the Holy Spirit, the injustices done to you in the destiny heaven is still prepared to release through you. In heaven's court, your scroll is not argued. It is declared, because truth doesn't compete, it stands. The Ancient of Days is seated. Daniel 7 gives us a glimpse. I watched till thrones were put in place, and the Ancient of Days was seated. His garment was white as snow. This is not a fairy tale. This is the supreme courtroom of all creation. And the judge is not corrupt. He cannot be bribed. He does not forget evidence. He never misreads motives. When he rises to speak, even the voices of hell must be silenced. And what he's saying now over you is not suggestion, it's not encouragement, it is verdict. The verdict is in your favor. Heaven is not wondering how to feel about you. It has already ruled, innocent by the blood, called by the scroll, anointed by the oil, justified by obedience, positioned by divine strategy, protected by the angels assigned to your name. And that accuser, Satan, the one who's been whispering lies to you in the night, he has no access here. The courtroom of heaven is not a place where your identity is debated. It's the place where your assignment is reinforced. Let the witnesses testify if you only knew the witnesses that stood for you in the Spirit. Every tear you cried in silence, testified. Every time you said yes to God when your flesh screamed no, testified. Every seed you sowed when you barely had enough, testified. Every moment you forgave what tried to destroy you, testified. Every time you stood for righteousness and were mocked, testified. Even the very blood of Jesus intercedes with fire on your behalf. And now the courtroom is full, and the scroll is being read aloud. Every tongue that rose against you, now condemned. Isaiah 54:17 doesn't just say, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." It says, "And every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn." There have been tongues that rose against you. Lies from childhood, gossip in spiritual places, whispered disqualifications, accusations you didn't deserve, judgmental spirits in religious disguise, even your own inner voice shaped by trauma. But now the scroll answers them, not with arguments, but with God's decree. This is my servant. This is my vessel. This one carries my breath. Let no voice rise above my verdict. When God rules, no man can override. Let every door they shut be shattered by fire. Let every platform they denied be replaced with one you didn't have to build. Let every no from man be consumed by the yes of heaven. Because when God says, "I have chosen this one," even hell has to step back. He doesn't need to explain why he chose you. He doesn't defend his election. He declares it. And that declaration is final. It's not just a verdict. It's a heavenly announcement. The gavel has not just fallen. The trumpets are beginning to sound. This is the moment of release, the unveiling, the launch, the shift in season, the activation of what has been hidden. Because the scroll wasn't just read, it was also released into motion. What was stagnant is now moving. What was sealed is now opening. What was locked is now unlocked. What was delayed is now deployed. An answered prayer they didn't even know they were still praying. Double for your trouble. And then some Isaiah 61:7 says, "Instead of your shame, you shall have double honor." That's not metaphor. That's divine arithmetic. God does not restore one-to-one. He restores abundantly, overflowingly, undeniably. What you lost in one season will be returned with interest. What they stripped from you will be returned with new strategy. What was stolen in secret will be restored in plain sight. And every area of your life that was broken will become a wellspring of breakthrough for others. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Psalm 23, verse 5. It's not a dinner party. It's a divine declaration. The honor is real. The crown fits. And you were built for this. What you meant for evil, God meant for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive. Genesis 50:20. We comfort others with the same comfort we ourselves have received. 2 Corinthians 1:4. You are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation. 1 Peter 2:9. What if I told you the pain you barely survived was actually the platform God planned to use? That the very thing that nearly buried you was the very scroll that would unlock others? You thought it ended with your healing, but heaven says, this was never just about you. The pit wasn't the end. The prison wasn't the end. The silence wasn't the end. They were all preparation for a global scroll. You are not just a survivor. You are a spiritual solution. And now heaven is revealing your greater mission. Pain was never the point. It was the portal. Hell sent pain to kill you. God allowed pain to build you. Because what you thought was destruction was actually construction. Pain became the portal to access authority. Betrayal became the furnace that forged discernment. Loneliness became the womb that birthed intimacy with God. And now your scars are not signs of defeat. They are activation keys. Your scars have a scroll of their own. Let me say this with prophetic fire. Your scars preach louder than sermons. Your scars are scrolls. Your wounds are witnesses. Your story is an altar God will use to set other people on fire. When people see you walking in freedom, they'll realize it's possible. When they hear what you walked through and survived, they'll believe again. When they see your authority, they'll know God still calls the broken to break chains. You didn't just come out of the fire. You came out carrying coals for the next generation. There is a path in your pain, and it leads others out. God never wastes wounds. He turns pain into blueprints. You cried your way through the dark, so now others can walk through it with light in their hand. You learned how to navigate betrayal. Now you'll lead others through relational redemption. You learned how to discern manipulation. Now you'll expose the religious spirit for what it is. You learned how to worship without answers. Now you'll teach others how to birth songs in silence. Your life is not a closed testimony. It is an open invitation. Your assignment has outgrown your affliction. You were not meant to stay in survival mode. That was just the hallway. Now, you've stepped into mission mode. No more just getting by. No more just trying to heal. No more just trying to make sense of it all. Now it's time to lead, to mentor, to ignite, because your authority wasn't just given, it was earned in obedience. You didn't just survive hell, you walked out with maps. Maps for others still stuck. Maps for sons and daughters wandering in confusion. Maps for ministries that have power but no depth. You are the answer to prayers someone hasn't prayed yet. This is apostolic activation. This next season of your life is not casual. It is apostolic, not in title, not in platform, but in function and fire. You will build where others tore down. You will mentor the misunderstood. You will prophesy clarity to the broken. You will plant identity in the spiritually orphaned. You will release oil where others manufactured emotion, because you are no longer operating from a place of pain. You're operating from a place of purpose. And this shift will make demons nervous, because you're not just healed, you're armed. This is bigger than you. It's about the ones still stuck in the addiction you overcame, still numb from the trauma you processed, still wearing the shame you've been delivered from, still calling counterfeit comfort because they haven't seen the real. You will be the interruption in their bloodline, the pattern breaker, the voice in the wilderness, the living proof that prophetic people don't just survive, they multiply. God didn't just heal you. He commissioned you. This is the moment where you stop asking, "Why me, God?" And you start declaring, "Send me, God." Isaiah 6:8. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send?" And I said, "Here am I. Send me." You don't need a pulpit. You don't need a degree. You don't need perfection. You need fire, willingness, obedience, and memory. The memory of the pit you came out of, because that memory keeps you humble, keeps you burning, and keeps you going. Your scars unlock other scrolls. Hear this. There are people waiting for you to speak, so their healing can begin. There are generations waiting for your yes, so curses can break. There are mantles waiting to fall because you dared to be available. Your scars are not your shame. They are heaven's keys. Keys to unlock ministries, keys to confront deception, keys to release captives, keys to build what doesn't yet exist. You've been approved. You've been anointed. You've been assigned. And now the world will feel the tremble of your yes. What you meant for evil, God meant for good, to save many alive. Genesis 50:20. This mission is global. This mantle is generational, and your scars are now sacred. Let the redeemed of the Lord tell their story. Psalm 107:2. They overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. Revelation 12:11. Come and hear, all you who fear God, and I will tell you what he has done for me. Psalm 66:16. This part isn't polished. It's not rehearsed. It's not crafted to impress. It's just truth from a chosen one who made it out and now refuses to be silent. Let me speak plainly now. I didn't think I'd still be here. There were moments I wasn't sure if I wanted to be, moments where the weight was too much, where the silence of God felt louder than any devil, where I questioned everything, including myself. But something wouldn't let me quit, something holy, something ancient, something that felt like fire and oil braided into my bones. Now I know. It was the scroll, sealed in heaven before I was ever formed in the womb. This is the part no one talks about. You see the fruit, you hear the fire, you feel the anointing, but what you didn't see was the breakdowns behind closed doors, the nights I wept on floors instead of stages, the prayers I prayed without answers, the rejection I absorbed without retaliation, the loneliness that haunted me even in crowded rooms, the identity crisis that almost convinced me I was never enough. I didn't get here by strength. I got here by surrender. I lost everything I thought I needed and found the one thing I couldn't live without. I had to lose my pride, my dependence on people, my obsession with timelines, my addiction to affirmation, my belief that I could be used by God without being crushed by Him first. And what I found wasn't a ministry. It wasn't a brand. It wasn't a platform. I found His voice, and that was enough. His whisper became my anchor. His silence became my training. His fire became my compass. What you're seeing now is not the whole story. It's the aftermath of obedience. You're seeing oil, but I lived through the crushing. You're hearing prophecy, but I crawled through the wilderness to get it. You're watching strength, but I broke 1,000 times in silence. And I share this not to impress you, but to tell you you're not crazy. If you're in that dark place, that silent room, that wilderness with no GPS, you are not lost. You are hidden. You are not disqualified. You are being carved. You are not behind. You are in divine process. Now it's your turn. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you've lost, but I know this. If you're hearing this, you're part of the same story. You've been carrying a calling no one saw. You've been fighting battles no one validated. You've been surviving rooms that were supposed to celebrate you, but suffocated you instead. You've cried in secret, and God heard every word. You've obeyed in silence, and heaven documented every step. You've walked alone, and angels walk beside you without your knowing. You've prayed with tears, and God bottled every drop. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to say yes. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel worthy. You don't need to understand it all. You just need to answer. Say, God, if you want me, you can have me. Not the polished version, not the perfect version, just the real me. The one that's been surviving, the one that's still holding on, the one that wants to believe again. That's enough. God doesn't anoint performances. He anoints surrender. The scroll in you is waiting to be unlocked. There's a fire you haven't accessed yet, a river you haven't stepped into yet, a sound in your voice you haven't heard yet, a healing in your hands you haven't released yet, a boldness in your bones you haven't walked in yet, but it's in you, and it's not waiting on heaven. It's waiting on your yes. I said yes, even while I was shaking, even when I was grieving, even when I felt forgotten, and that one yes shifted everything. You are not late. You are right on time. Heaven did not miscalculate. God did not skip your name. You are not a backup plan. You are a living prophecy in motion. The wilderness didn't cancel your scroll. It qualified you to carry it. The betrayal didn't break you. It broke the version of you that couldn't carry this level of oil. The silence didn't delay you. It deepened you. Now the heavens are opening again, and the same voice that called me is calling you. Can you feel it? That pull in your chest, that ache in your spirit? That's not emotion, that's eternity. Let the redeemed of the Lord tell their story. Psalm 107:2. This is my story. Now it's your turn to write yours. Let your yes shake the earth through the wilderness. Isaiah 43:19. For the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Habakkuk 2:14. But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. 1 Peter 2:9. This is not for the faint-hearted. This is for the warriors. The time has come. This moment is bigger than you. It is bigger than me. This is about destiny. It is about the eternal kingdom of God. It is about the final hour of divine purpose. The hour has come. Can you feel the fire? We're standing on the edge of eternity. There is a shift in the spiritual atmosphere, one that has been prophesied for centuries. You, chosen one, are a part of it. This is not just any moment. This is your moment. For too long, you've been standing on the outside, watching others step into their purpose while you waited, uncertain, afraid, or overwhelmed. But I'm here to tell you, God is calling you to step into the fire. There is no more waiting. There is no more maybe tomorrow. The time is now. You were not born for comfort. You were born for glory. You were not called to fit in. You were called to shake the heavens. Your destiny is unfolding. It has already begun. The call is urgent. The time is now. I know what you're thinking. I'm not ready. I don't have what it takes. I'm too broken. But hear me. Your brokenness is your qualification. You are not here by mistake. You were born for such a time as this. This is not a time to hesitate. This is not a time to shrink back. The God of the impossible is about to move on your behalf. He has been preparing you for this moment. You may not see it yet, the fullness of the fire, but the moment you step forward in faith, you will begin to see everything shift. The wilderness will give way to the highway of God's glory. And if you trust him now, he will show you the power that has been hidden inside you all along. You will walk in ways you've never imagined, and you will carry authority you've never known. Step into the fire of divine purpose. Do you feel the urgency in your spirit? It's the fire. It's the calling. It's the commissioning. God is lighting the path before you, one step at a time, but he is waiting for your obedience to move forward. And when you move, you will not go alone. Heaven itself will march behind you. Angels will stand with you. Every chain that has held you back will be broken. It's time to run into the fire of divine purpose. It is time to speak with the authority of heaven. It is time to claim the mantle that was designed for you from before the foundation of the world. You are a chosen one, a royal priesthood. You were meant to declare the praises of God to this generation. And as you step into your calling, the glory of the Lord will cover the earth as the waters cover the sea. The resistance will be fierce, but you are more than conquerors. There will be resistance. There will be those who mock you, who question you, who try to pull you back into fear. But the fire inside of you is greater than the fire you will face. Your destiny is locked within a battle that is already won. You have been chosen to stand victorious, and nothing, no weapon formed against you, will prosper. This is your moment. This is your hour, and you are ready. You have endured the trials. You have survived the battle. You have withstood the fire. Now it's time for you to rise and lead. You are the chosen one. Your voice will change the world. Stand bold, stand true. The call to destiny is louder than the voices of doubt. The voice of God within you is louder than the lies of the enemy. What is coming next will shake the earth. This isn't just about you. This isn't just about your purpose. This is about eternity. This is about seeing God's kingdom manifest on earth as it is in heaven. The world is waiting for the sons and daughters of God to be revealed, and you are one of them. You are the chosen. It's time to be bold. It's time to act. It's time to speak with the authority of heaven and declare that God's purposes will be fulfilled in your life. The final word, the fire you were born to carry. There is a fire inside of you, a fire that cannot be extinguished, a fire that will not be contained. And now is the time for that fire to burn brightly for all to see. You were not born to be silent. You were born to speak. You were not born to hide. You were born to shine. You were not born to follow. You were born to lead. So step into the fire. Step into the destiny you were designed for. The world is waiting for you. Now go.